next week That's amazing. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya 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 da da, ya da 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 da, da da.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I am Rabbinic Intern George Altschuler. I am joined by Cantor Toby Glauser and our musical director Jonathan Dimmick. I would like to extend a special welcome this evening to our Intro to Judaism class, which has really formed a community and is here together to celebrate and have a nice dinner afterwards. So please, I invite you to wish a Shabbat Shalom to someone near you and to introduce yourself.
Shabbat Shalom, kid.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Please.
So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to hear you all making some conversation. I would like to ask, is there anyone here for the very first time in our magnificent sanctuary who would like to introduce themselves? Is there anyone here for the first time? Okay.
Yeah, we have
I didn't see over there. Yeah, please. Would you mind standing up and introducing yourself so we can welcome you to our community?
Jonah is going to be bar mitzvahed here next week, and we've been
wow.
working over Zoom. It was a late addition to our bar mitzvah cohort, and we've been working very hard. So we're excited to hear his beautiful voice next week and call him to Torah.
Great. Okay. I would like to invite up our board greeter now, Richard Johns. And as Richard comes up, I'd like to say a few words. We all, as a community, celebrated the life of Eleanor Johns last Wednesday. And I just want to say that I thought that it was a beautiful tribute, and we all have been thinking a lot about you, Richard. And as Rabbi Graf said, Eleanor was truly an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. So we've been thinking of you, and we all wish you the best.
Thank you very much. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I welcome all of you. It's nice to see so many faces. People come to this service for different reasons. Why, however it was that brought you here, you're welcome. And may I suggest that at the conclusion of the service, right after you leave, take out your iPhone and make this a repeating event.
Well said, Richard. And we're going to have more on the iPhone later in this service.
Oh,
as we count the Omer. So keep that in mind.
You should also say that if you haven't, you should turn it off.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, please silence your iPhone so you can be fully present with us. And so, yeah, so now it is our honor to call up to light the candles Zach Migdale, who has the good fortune of having a new job at the JCC. So, unfortunately, this is the last Shabbat that he will be joining us as a Sherith Israel employee, but I'm sure we'll see him around here a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've said this a bunch of times, but Zach, slow clap, wow. Zach has really been indispensable to kind of every facet of our synagogue operation here. He's an incredible guy. We got you a little something, some halva bonbons, 7 of them for Shabbat, and yeah, we'll see how things run next week without you. It's going to be a brave new world. Mazal tov. You want to mention anything? I believe Eric mentioned that Zach has been working here in various capacities for the last 15 years, so that's quite incredible. If you wanted to say a word or two, you're welcome to.
Yeah, want to give away the variety?
Thank you.
These are for you.
Just want to thank the community as I have before. It's been a wonderful, supportive community for Zach and a great place for him to adult. And it's just time for him to move on. But I think 15's about right, starting from when he was Madrik.
14 he got paid.
All right.
All right, so paid and non-paid. We're very proud of you, Zach.
Mazal tov. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Mazal tov on your new journey.
Thank you, and thank you, Nancy, especially for giving me a place to work for so many years at the start. That was really...
So as we begin our service, I'd like to share some words that one of my rabbinic mentors once told me. He described a Shabbat service as a container that holds all of our different emotions and our different experiences. So I know that some of us are here tonight with heavy hearts, whether we are mourning or thinking of a sick loved one. Some of us are here for very exciting reasons and we're celebrating. And I just want to say that I hope tonight that we can create a container to hold all of that, and I am very happy that we are all here tonight. So we begin our service with Shir Ladonai with joy on page 13.
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. We were going to wait till the smachot, but I thought it would be more fun to mess with you. So it is rabbinic intern George's birthday, and we wish him a hearty mazel tov. And so blessed, such a blessing to have you here, and very excited for your new journey as a rabbi in this community. So mazel tov, and happy birthday. Now we continue with Shir Ladonai. Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shir Ladonai, Baruch Shemo. Basru miyom leyom yeshuvato. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש. שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש. שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו. One more time, שירו לאדוני. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש. שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו.
We continue now to another joyful psalm. Romemu can be found on page 17.
רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו לאדון רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו לאדום רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
In our next prayer, Lachadodi, we welcome the joyful spirit of Shabbat. It is customary to rise on the final verse of Lachadodi and to face the entrance of our synagogue to welcome in the spirit of Shabbat. So I invite you to join us. Lachadodi can be found on page 20. We will sing verses 1, 2, 5, and then the final verse at which we will stand is verse 9. So please join us as we welcome the joyful spirit of Shabbat.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת תקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה בואי ושלום את ארד בלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לקבלה.
We continue now with a section of our prayer service that culminates in the Shema, in the our central declaration of faith. But that begins first with the call to prayer, the Barhu, which can be found on page 28.
את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ידי די ידי די 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 ידי די ידי די 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 ידי די 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 די.
We read together on the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבים.
The Shema is bracketed on either side by love. After the Shema, we have the Ve'ahavta, in which we consider our love for God. But first, we have Ahavat Olam, in which we consider God's love for us. Page 32.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, ושוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated.
Teens, you want to come up to Ve'ahavta? Don't sit down. Come hang. People in the back. Eliza, Tali. Come on, you know you want to. There we go. All right, come up to the microphone. Can you start us off, Nate? It's better every time. Thank you.
So as we conclude Passover, I reflect back on a feeling that I have that I know many of you probably also have. If you abide by the rules of Passover and don't eat leavened bread, there's this feeling of queasiness that some of you might have experienced, where you're hungry and you've eaten too much matzah, but you're not full. So it's not a good feeling. So this is the season in which we consider that feeling, but we also consider freedom. And so our next prayer offers us the opportunity to tap back into that consideration of freedom. So we continue with Micha Mocha, which can be found on page 40.
Mocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha, Nedar B'Kodesh, Norat Tehilot, Oseh Pele, Malchutecha ראו בניך, אוקיי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. די 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 ונאמר כי בנה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So we have the privilege of having Maddie sing Hashki Venu for us. So if you'd like to follow along and sing with her, the words can be found on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom, v'hamnienu malkeinu lehayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Yasher Koach, thank you so much. We turn now to the moment in our service in which we consider those in need of shlemut, in need of the wholeness of healing. Our Misha Berach can be found on page 253.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We pray tonight for the healing of Tzur Miriam bat Hana Moshe, Frumit bat Miriam, Fievel ben Sivia, Jim Blattner, Daniel Burton, Bob Fonero, Stephen Gerbsman, William Kurian, Fred Nervo, Philip Rosenberg, Agnes Rothblatt, and those whom we mention now.
Bekor Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
In a moment, we will rise as a community for the Amidah, the standing prayer, which is the central prayer of any Jewish prayer service. And since we are on the other side of Passover now, we actually change some words in the Amidah. This is the second week that we no longer say Mashiv Haruach Umarid Hageshem, which means who causes the wind to blow and the rain to fall. And since we're on the other side of Passover, we now say Morid Hatal, who brings dew. So that is connected to the land of Israel and the climate there. And funnily enough, in San Francisco, we have a somewhat similar climate. We have gotten through winter, so we now pray for dew instead of rain. So I invite you to rise and join us for the Amidah, which can be found on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach Ufi agit hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'emotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh hakol, Ve'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, U'mevii geula לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, עזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, וחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. פיך בוכה בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך למית ומחייב, ומצפיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We invite you to continue praying now silently, either with the words of the prayer book or the words in your heart. When you have finished praying, I invite you to sit down.
shalom במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
So, as many of you no doubt know, every December, the music streaming service Spotify offers a summary of what you've listened to during the year. It's called Spotify Wrapped. And I love getting my Spotify Wrapped, in part because every year I am one of 0.01 or 0.5% of listeners of the band Beirut. And I take pride in that as someone who loves this specific band. So Spotify tells me, you are one of, by hours listened to this band, you are one of the most, the people who listens to it the most. But I'll confess that I also look at Spotify Wrapped with a little bit of dread. And that's because Spotify Wrapped tells you how many hours you spent listening to Spotify each year. According to what I could find online, the average Spotify user listens to more than 26,000 minutes of music. And I know that many people, especially in younger generations, listen to way more than that. It seems to me that these many hours a lot of people spend listening to music is part of a broader phenomenon in our society. These days, we hear less and less silence. In addition to the thousands of minutes of music many of us listen to on Spotify each year, there's the music we hear in the grocery store, the radio and podcasts we listen to when we drive, perhaps the sound of the TV in your house or your apartment, the sound of talking to others, and the squeaky brakes, sirens, and loud engines of city life. I also think silence is more rare when we're with others. It can be difficult to hold silence in a conversation, when we're just chatting with someone or when we're talking about something difficult. Many of us feel pressure to fill silence. Tonight, I want to explore with you what we can gain from silence. I want to think through what the benefits and potential power of silence are. This week, we read the Torah portion Shmini. Shmini contains one of the most poignant examples of silence in the Bible. The story begins, as many of you know, with Aaron's sons Nadav and Avihu, when they make what the Bible calls a strange fire in the Holy Tabernacle. Nadav and Avihu's fire was not sanctioned by God, and another fire comes from before God and consumes Nadav and Avihu. It's an episode that has troubled readers for centuries, and people wonder, why were Nadav and Avihu punished with death for this ritual offense? It's a very difficult passage, and it's hard to make sense of it. But what I actually want to focus on tonight is the reaction of Aaron's father, Nadav and Avihu's father, to this event, to their death. Immediately after the death of Nadav and Avihu, Moses tries to explain God's rationale to Aaron. Moses says, "This is what God meant when he said, 'Through those near me I show myself holy and gain glory before all the people.'" Now, the way the Bible describes Aaron's reaction to this is very interesting. It uses two words, Vayidom Aharon, which means, and Aaron was silent. All we get from the biblical text about Aaron's reaction to his death and Aaron's reaction to Moses trying to explain his son's death is that he was silent. The narrative then moves on to other matters. What are we to make of Aaron's silence? Some traditional commentators, such as the medieval Rabbi Sforno, argue that Aaron was silent because he accepted that his sons had died for a higher cause. Sforno writes, "Aaron was silenced because he took comfort in the sanctification of God that they had achieved through their death." According to Sforno's interpretation, Nadav and Avihu ended up being some sort of holy offering to God. But there are other very different interpretations of Aaron's silence. Another medieval commentator, Abarvanel, writes, "It was as if Aaron's heart turned to lifeless stone, and so he did not raise his voice in tears and lament like a parent mourning his child, nor did he accept Moses' consolation, for his breath left him and he was speechless." In this medieval commentator Abarvanel's reading, Aaron was so consumed by his grief that he was speechless. This image is really poignant. His heart turned to lifeless stone. Aaron's silence can teach us what many of us already know too well. Sometimes we are so grief-stricken that we simply don't have the words. Sometimes silence is our only response to what has happened in our lives. I also want to think through Moses' role in this story. Moses, in trying to explain God's rationale for killing Aaron's sons, does exactly what you're not supposed to do when someone is mourning. Moses tries to offer an explanation for what has happened. He fills his brother's grieving silence with an unsatisfactory explanation for the tragedy Aaron is experiencing. Now, this is not the only time in the Bible that someone speaks unwisely when someone else is grieving. In the book of Job, the character Job experiences numerous tragedies. Job begins the story as a wealthy and happy family man, but he loses his money, his children die, and he becomes afflicted with boils. It's pretty terrible. 3 of Job's friends come to him in this difficult moment to try to offer him comfort. At first, Job's friends help him mourn. The text says the 3 friends came to Job and lifted their eyes from afar and they could not even recognize him. So they lifted their voices with Job and they wept. Each visitor to Job, tore his coat, which was an ancient mourning practice, and they hurled dirt over their heads towards the sky. They sat down on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw his pain had grown great. Now, Job's friends were observing the custom of Shiva, which many of us know today. When mourners are in a Shiva, it is customary for visitors to not begin conversation with those mourners. Instead, one is supposed to let mourners speak if they want, but otherwise allow for mourners to have silence. The silence of Shiva, The silence described at this point of the book of Job is a holy silence. One cannot create this silence alone. Instead, this is a loving silence, a silence that can only come when people come together to create it. As the book of Job progresses, Job's friends fill this silence and offer him platitudes and cliches in the hope of comforting him. This does not go well. Job becomes frustrated with his friends, and at one point, Job even says, "If you would only have kept quiet, it would have been considered wisdom on your part." While Job says these words out of anger, and they are perhaps a little bit sarcastic in the original context, I actually think Job is offering us a profound lesson. Sometimes the wisest thing we can do is to remain silent. For people grieving, offering support, or people simply in conversation, sometimes silence is what is most needed. Sometimes there simply aren't words to explain what happened or what is happening in the moment. Sometimes silence is the most honest and heartfelt thing we can create. And in that silence, perhaps we can find hints of something bigger than what we can put into words. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, George.
Thank you. So we turn now from a contemplation of silence to joyous words. This is our opportunity in the service to share a simcha, or a joyous event that you've experienced in your life. So if you have experienced a simcha and you'd like to share it with our community, I invite you to raise your hand, and Toby will go over to you with the mic. And please do talk into the mic so that we can share our simchas with those who are watching on YouTube.
Big row of smachot here.
I got to sing again. And also my birthday's in 4 days.
Yes,
Oh.
18 on the 18th, right? Mazal tov. It's very lucky. Double chai. Well, it's tax day as well, yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about that too much.
You're right. One thing at a time.
It's my best friend's birthday tomorrow, and she's celebrating in Maui, and I'm really happy for her. And also, it's been a week for Chloe.
Yeah.
Chloe just finished her first week of work as an official speech therapist, and I just want to make sure that she got the accolades because that's pretty amazing,
You wanna say
and we
something,
love
Chloe?
you.
How was your first week?
It was a lovely first week. And on this past Wednesday, my grandfather, who's a Holocaust survivor, celebrated his 96th birthday.
Me'av Esriem, amazing. Yeah, Maya.
There's a garage sale at school to raise money for someone to go to school in Uganda.
Wow, that's amazing. Worthy cause. Was it?
Our son Ben was here to celebrate Pesach and stayed the entire week, and we had a wonderful visit.
Excellent.
We were blessed to have all 15 of our family around the table on Passover.
Amazing. Oh, we got lots back here. Yeah.
My son Jonah is turning 13 on Sunday.
Ooh.
Mazal tov. All right.
Sorry. My school is choosing organizations to donate. It's all been, the organizations have all been picked out by like the 7th grade. It's like it's called the Tzedakah Project. Yeah.
Cool.
Behind you, Toby.
Sorry.
Recently, I just turned 10.
Excellent.
A lot of
All right,
birthdays. This
Double
is great.
digits.
Our 7th grader is about to go to Europe for 3 weeks with her class, using funds that they have fundraised all on their own over the last year, $3,000 per student.
Wow. Elisa, you got something else? No?
Clearly, she's definitely ready to go to Europe.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a great time. Monique.
Well, two things. My sister is having a birthday tomorrow. And also, I want to know what the name of the school is where they're having the garage sale.
Okay. The name of the school is
Convent.
Convent School. All right. Anyone else? Going once. Going. Oh,
Trish.
sorry. I missed you. Yeah.
Justin and I bought our first house.
Wow.
Wow.
Just the first one. Just number one. Here's to many more houses. All right. Now, did I miss anyone? No. All right. Cool.
Okay. Well, for those simchas and those who are still holding in our heart, I invite you to rise as we say the Shechechianu together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu vekiyamanu vehigianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
We remain standing and begin the concluding portion of our service with Aleinu, which can be found on page 282.
Jonathan is once again too famous and had to go to the symphony, I believe, to play a concert tonight. So we'll close it on guitar. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we commemorate the following Shivas. If you are in Shiva, I invite you to rise and say the name of your loved one. We commemorate the following Shloshim. John Greenspan, please rise as your loved one's name is said. John Greenspan, Louise Hyman, Ephraim Ben Moshe, and Malcolm Rose. If you are here on the occasion of a Shloshim of the 30 days of the anniversary of a death, I invite you to rise and say those names out loud now. If you are in Shana in the first year of mourning, I invite you to rise and say the name of your loved one now. Please remain standing. We remember the following yahrzeits or anniversaries of death. Please rise as your loved one's name is said out loud. Harry Bloomberg, Anita Britcher, Bob Faber, Charles Ginsberg, Francis Green, Leon Hecht, Joseph W. House, Morris Abraham Liston, Josephine Magrish, Marvin Mervis, Louis Neustein, Isaac Perlman, Irving Rubinson, Mr. William Schoenberg, Rose Shore, Linda Tolson, Louis E. Wexler, Michael Zelmar, Helen Eleanor Zier, and Willa D. Zuckerman. If you are commemorating a yahrzeit of someone whose name has not been read out loud, I invite you to share that name now. We rise together as a community in solidarity with our mourners, and we say together the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, be'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to the whole world, to which we say, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. So we have a lot going on at Sherith Israel right now, so we're going to share some announcements with you. And to begin our announcements, I'd like to invite up our wonderful education director, Jonathan Emmanuel, to share some important words.
In some circles. You want to use the mic? Sure.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to, when you were speaking about the Parsha, the Nadav and Avihu, I always have another musical connection that I think of. They say it was a strange fire. A very good Indigo Girls album, if you're interested. Also love Beirut, great band. Really? Yeah, totally. I also wanted to welcome a lot of, besides us being together here as a community for Shabbat, we also are honoring a lot of learners today. And I wanted to just recognize that. And as an educator, it's something I love to point out because there's a lot of you here. Besides, first of all, we have our teens who are here to be together and to learn, and they are one of the brightest groups of teens you can find around. We also invited their parents to join us tonight, part of the POSIT group. If you want to know what that stands for, ask me later. And we've also invited some of our studio families to join us today for a family dinner. So our studio, both teen studio and some of the younger families and parents are going to join us. We're going to have dinner actually downstairs in Bart Hall. And at the same time, we are also honoring our Intro to Judaism students, which I've had the pleasure of teaching a couple times, and they are a wonderful group too. So I want to honor you, and you'll be eating in the chapel just next door. But the food will be in Bart, so you'll get your food in Bart, and then you can go into the chapel. Oh, is it divided? Never mind, things have changed. Thanks, Peter. That's my partner, Peter, over there. Thanks for your work. And because we're honoring students, the last thing I'll say is I just want to honor all the teachers in the room, because there's a few of them here. Chloe, who we congratulated earlier. Anna, back there, who teaches our kindergarten and first grade, who was bat mitzvahed with a bunch of people on Saturday, including you two. That was really beautiful and a great honor. And also Barbie and Caitlin and Natalie and Nancy, because, well, we wouldn't be here without you. So that's where the dinners are happening, but we really welcome all of you. Jonah, good to see you. My son's in his class at Brandeis. The Tzedakah program's awesome. Good. Mazel tov. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So, oh yeah. Okay. So I want to announce that we have Torah study on Zoom at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow with Cantor Glaser.
We may do some Indigo Girls. Thank you for raising that. If you want to hear about Strange Fire, yeah.
We also have a Yom HaShoah, a Holocaust Remembrance Day program coming up that I know our senior rabbi, Rabbi Graf, is especially excited about. It's a film screening that will take place on Tuesday, April 18th at 7 p.m. We have another Nosh and Shmooze, a lunchtime get-together with a special guest, Eran Nissan, and that's happening on April 20th at 12:30 here in the synagogue. And I also want to announce our Yap Shabbat, which will happen next Shabbat, our young adult Shabbat. So if you're under the, what's the cutoff, Toby? If you're under the age of
40-ish. Yeah.
40-ish, we invite
20s
you
to 40s-ish. Yeah.
we invite you to join us here with Toby Glaser. There's some other events coming up. I want to be sure to mention the Disco Gold Rush Gala on May 6th. Unfortunately, that's the day before my ordination, so I won't be able to be there. But I've been asked to pose in my disco garb for a photo. So stay tuned for that if you're on Sherith Israel email lists. And Helene, yeah.
Also, this is adjacent, the RAC California Climate Cetic team is having an action webinar. Some of you came here. We had the regional meeting here, which was very exciting. That was like 4.5 hours. This is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and in that time, and it's all on Zoom, we will take action to support a key climate equity program in the state budget. We'll all do that. We'll learn from Senator Henry Stern, who has a bill out now to accelerate California's timeline for reducing climate warming emissions. Updates on 4 bills that RAC is planning to support and in the next agenda, legislature. And then to prepare for one of these bills, we're going to do lobbying actually in May in Sacramento. So if we have a few flyers out there, but also it'll be in Under the Dome with a link to signing up. Just 1 hour and 15 minutes of your time on the 26th, 7 to 8:15, Wednesday, a week from Wednesday. So I hope lots of you will come. Please.
April 28th. Yes. April 28th.
So,
if you want.
for those of you who are home tonight, if you can possibly be here on April 28th, we're going to be saying Mazel Tov, thank you to our cantor, and a special service on April 28th, and hope to see you all then.
Thank you, yes. Featuring the Kolenu Choir. It's going to be a lot of fun, I hope. Yeah, it'll be great.
Great. And David.
And one more special Shabbat. Next week, special guest speaker will be Ty Gregory, the executive director of the JCRC of San Francisco, Sonoma Bay Area, who will be here to talk about the work that JCRC is doing to fight anti-Semitism and to build coalitions with other communities like the Asian American, Asian Pacific Islander communities, and African American communities to fight hate throughout our society. So be here for that. He's a wonderful speaker and a great leader. Thanks.
Come to Shabbat anyway. It'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah, Eric.
One more. All right.
One more, I promise.
Last call.
So this is very apropos given George's words tonight, but the Hills of Eternity is sponsoring a series of learnings on death, dying, and grieving on the Wednesday evenings throughout May. You can already see some information on our website, and more information will be public-facing. We've got some really learned rabbis coming in. Shira Shor will be serving on a panel as well. It should be really quite wonderful and very educational for an important topic for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So there's another ritual thing that I had planned to do tonight, and I mentioned in the beginning of services that my cell phone was going to make an appearance. There's a custom of counting the Omer in the Jewish tradition, counting the weeks between Passover and Shavuot. And like many people, you count the Omer at night. And like many people, I have an app that sends me a notification at sunset to count the Omer. And I was planning on counting the Omer, but my app reminds me the sun hasn't actually set yet. So we shouldn't count the Omer yet, but I encourage you to count the Omer at home. So we will continue with Kiddush, which can be found on page 5. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'i kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. I didn't get to look today, so I'm excited. What do we have under here? Please explain. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Let's grab that microphone. Oh, there we go. I'm glad that wasn't on the mic. No? Is it out of batteries? What do we do here? There we go.
There we go. There are a whole bunch of traditions about the Shabbat after, or the days after Pesach. And one of the ones that I think is really cool is the Moroccan and North African Festival of Mamuna, which kind of celebrate, it's like a carb fest after Pesach. And one of the things they do is they make a challah that is round, and you put a hard-boiled egg in there representing, depends on who you talk to, spring, fertility, whatever, the Easter bunny, all of that. Just kidding. Anyway, so I made the round challah.
Beautiful.
And prior to the time that it sank in there, the egg was held in place by the two bread strips.
Is this fennel? What is?
Yeah, fennel and cumin.
Fennel and cumin. All right. I'm going to take a little shtickle. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Really good.
So as we conclude our service, I'd like to extend thank yous to David out in front, Peter, and of course, Zach, who we are celebrating tonight. So thank you very much to all of you, and we will conclude with Oseh Shalom, which can be found on page 353.
I hope. I think so. Probably that. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevet, ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevet, ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in the lobby for the Oneg.
Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Happy birthday. Oh, really? This is it?